Okay, here we go with installment number 2, and let's get right into it. Again, like we talked about, Gina, it just don't, do your best to keep your focus on this net person, being that they're your major threat, because you can see you're starting to move forward, but Holly really hasn't delivered the ball by that net person yet, because what this person is looking at, if they get the racket on it, they're looking at the middle of the court. We've got to make sure that somebody's always there to defend that. But let's get back into the point here. Good situation here that develops off of a lob that's coming up very shortly, I think. Okay, and here it comes. Good move there, Holly, to move in a little bit, but bear in mind how much Jamie's on her heels, running backwards. More than likely, the ball's coming back higher over the net. And sometimes if you're too close to the net, we're not going to be able to get a racket on it. And so here it comes again. And just watch your movement here at the net, because Gina's hit a good deep ball deep into the ad corner. And that's pretty much going to put anybody back on their heels. And here I think you're just being a little bit too aggressive. I think if you, in a situation like that, is just to back up just a little bit, because we know it will tend to come off. And see, if you looked at your feet, you were still moving in pretty aggressively, and Jamie's just out of the picture, so she's pretty much on her heels. And a lob is going to come back, and when you're a little bit too tight to the net, you'll see that you want to go after it, but by being a little bit too close to the net, it's just beyond your reach to really do anything with. Okay, and then the problem here, obviously, is by being out of position, your momentum has carried you all the way across into the sideline, and Gina's already over there hitting the ball, but obviously there's nobody on the tennis court over there. And so I think Gina plays a good defensive ball back, kind of low. Whoop, but it's a little bit short, and obviously we're pretty vulnerable at this point. But we're still in the point. Okay, so when you get caught in this position, lesson to be learned here. Here's that ball that goes, Steph plays it back to Gina, and what happens here is, if you look at yourself here, your back is to everything right now, so try to keep your eyes more in front of you, where you can keep track of not only the ball but where your opponents are, because right now your back is to Jamie and Steph. Not an ideal position to be in, especially when you consider how much space has been left open here in the middle of the court. And so let's move on forward. Okay, I like this position, Holly, where you really didn't crash the net on this. You just hovered around your service line. Okay, so here's a situation where Gina's been pulled out of the court with Steph's wide angle, and be careful of this scenario where you're looking too long at your partner, and very easy to lose track of not only Jamie at the net, but just losing track. If Steph sneaks in there, you'll never see that happening for yourself. So when your partner's in that situation, take a quick glance, but then get those eyes back in front of you. The good thing is you did gravitate into the center of the court, Gina, with a good defensive shot. And here's that angle again, and again, just too long of a look back at your partner. Great position here. Steph's on her heels, Holly, and You're not on top of the net. You've got some latitude to cover your own lob and a drive. And back into that wide ball again. Okay, and Jamie just got caught in a similar position that you were caught in, where she's a little bit too close to the net. And again, if we look at Gina, Gina's playing the smart shot. She's pretty deep in the court. She's, 10, 12 feet behind the baseline at this point. And the smart thing is to put that ball up in the air to the longest part of the court, which she does. And you can see what Jamie's doing the same thing. She's got her back to you two. She doesn't know where you guys are at this point. And sure enough, Holly, a good read on that situation. And what you're looking at right here, you've got two possibles. One is to just drill her. Two is you got plenty of open room. Those are both good options for you. And you went right into her feet. Excellent play. Jamie makes a good dig out of that. Again, reorientate yourself. There it is. Okay, good point. Let's move ahead here. This is where, little things make a difference on the court. I like your starting position here, Gina, behind the service line and shading to the middle. But what's curious here is the serve's going into play and you moved up, but you're moving to the outside of the court right here where, let's say, for example, Holly doesn't hit the best of shots, and if she goes to Steph, that's the end result of that. So, like we talked about on the court, is just holding your position a little bit longer in here until it's clear to you that that ball has gotten by the opposite net person. Okay, now Holly's been pulled out, and once you see that happening, you can just see, Gina, that as Holly's moving out, that distance between you and your partner has really become pretty significant here. So just a reminder, keep an eye on your partner for that split second. If you have a sensor being pulled to the outer perimeter of the court, let's slide into that center of the court and take away the easy target for your opponents. And let's see what happens on this. Steph is aware of that. She can see that. Now it's just a matter of, can she get a racket on the ball and get it into that area? She does, but not a lot of pace. And you can see, Gina, you made a nice get, but you're really reaching on that. And, if you were already in the center of the court like that, I believe you could have made a stronger shot or a stronger play off of that. So let's move on into the point right now. Jamie goes wide and pulling her out, and Gina's tracking it down. Holly, you're not moving. Okay, so, and you know what you need to do. You need to move with your partner on that and plug that middle, because from your opponent's perspective, what they're pulling you wide and they notice you haven't moved, that Jamie's eyeballing this area and Steph is eyeballing that area. So whoever gets that ball, they know that that's going to be a good option for them. Let's just see what happens. And Jamie misses the easy volley, so much for that. But just a reminder, just one of the fundamentals of the game is, moving with your partner so that we maintain good spacing on the court and we don't leave anything too wide open, especially the middle of the court. So let's move ahead. Same thing, again, just a curious movement here where the serve has pulled Holly out to her right, but yet your movement right now is to your left. And in other words, both of you are obviously moving away from the center of the court, and that kind of spacing can get you into trouble unless your partner hits a good shot, because again, let's just say hypothetically the ball had gone more to Steph's side of the court, and obviously what Steph is eyeballing is this open area, and that's where your partner's got to keep that ball cross court, which she does. So, the reason I played that point is just always, be aware of your spacing here. You've got pretty good spacing between the two of you. Still a little bit too large of an area in there. Everybody knows go to the middle of the court, and if you're going to take anything away from your opponents, take away the middle, make them beat you in other places on the court. Let's go to one more point on this segment. And we've got Gina serving. This is the one, Holly, if you remember, we talked about this on the court where you started in the center of the court and you moved to your right, but the return of service pulled Gina to her left out of the court. And so at this point, when Gina is now getting her racket on the ball, look what we've got here. So obviously, because you're watching the ball right now, you're trying to see, hey, what can Gina do with the shot and everything. But your primary responsibility is to park yourself in the center and take away the biggest, easiest target away from your opponents. And you can see by getting off to a late start, because now you've seen the ball off Gina's racket, now you're trying to react off of the ball. And there really is not enough time to react to this because you're running into the middle, the ball goes back the other way. But let's say, for example, you were already here. Jamie hits that ball, and you would be able to get your racket on that ball just because you would be better situated to begin with and better balance, and she just caught you going in the wrong direction there. If you see this, because you know that you've left the middle open, it's a little bit too late in the game, so you're running into the middle, she goes back behind you where your momentum is going in the opposite direction. So, lesson to be learned, your partner gets pulled wide, plug that middle of the court. Okay? This completes the second section. I've got one more section here to edit, so I hope you enjoyed that.